We-On-Loc on the track, bitch.
If you ain't talking money, then I don't wanna talk.
Still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam them. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam them. Then they still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam them. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam them. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Then they still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Then they still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Then they still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam.
We-On-Loc on the track, bitch.
If you ain't talking money, then I don't wanna talk.
Still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Then they still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slam. snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slang them. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slang them. Then them still gon' stunt. Diamonds look like they glowing. 50 stacks all singles, I make it look like it's snowing. Treat them like jack boys, catch them slipping and slang them.
Get ready for the most glamorous event of the year, the U2B Streets Awards 2025, February 9, 2025, at Laban Midtown, located at 641 West 42nd Street, New York City. Join us at 12 p.m. for the pre-show red carpet extravaganza and a chance to win $500 in our fashion contest. From 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., enjoy the gold tier experience with speakeasy confessionals, press interviews, and premium cocktails. At 4 p.m., the platinum tier includes performances, a comedic host, an award ceremony, dinner, and gift bags. From 8 p.m., the diamond tier features a VIP after party with a DJ, aerial dance, fire performances, and gift bags. 24 YouTube categories and many nominees. Can't attend in person? Stream the entire event live on Hush and Move Media via Uscreen for just $9.99. Get your early bird tickets before September 15, 2024. Visit now. Be a sponsor. Be extraordinary. Be there. Be great.
Done before, which is to provide a tax cut.
No audience here tonight in this hall, and that is the economy and the cost of living in this country. Vice President Harris, you and President Trump were elected 4 years ago, and your opponent on the stage here tonight often asks his supporters, are you better off than you were 4 years ago? When it comes to the economy, do you believe Americans are better off than they were 4 years ago?
So I was raised as a middle-class kid. And I am actually the only person on this stage who has a plan that is about lifting up the middle class and working people of America. I believe in the ambition, the aspirations, the dreams of the American people. And that is why I imagine and have actually a plan to build what I call an opportunity economy.
Yeah, I've heard this before. So here we are back again with We-On-Loc Nation. Who do you think wins? Who do you think wins it all? You got Trump, you got Harris. Who do you think wins it all? Let's see. We are at the late mark hour. I know it's like 1 o'clock on the East Coast. It's 10 o'clock here on the West Coast. It's going to be a little sluggish as usual, but we're going to entertain this as long as we can. So when you come in, just click, hit the like button. Here, let's continue.
Passion, one of them is small businesses. My mother raised my sister and me, but there was a woman who helped raise us. We call her our second mother. She was a small business owner. I love our small businesses. My plan is to give a $50,000 tax deduction to start up small businesses, knowing they are part of the backbone of America's economy. My opponent, on the other hand, his plan is to do what he has done before, which is to provide a tax cut for billionaires and big corporations, which will result in $5 trillion to America's deficit. My opponent has a plan that I call the Trump's sales tax, which would be a 20% tax on everyday goods that you rely on to get through the month. Economists have said that Trump sales tax would actually result for middle-class families in about $4,000 more a year because of his policies and his ideas about what should be the backs of middle-class people paying for tax cuts for billionaires.
President Trump, I'll give you 2 minutes.
First of all, I have no sales tax. That's an incorrect statement. She knows that. We're doing tariffs on other countries. Other countries are going to finally, after 75 years, pay us back for all that we've done for the world. And the tariff will be substantial in some cases. I took in billions and billions of dollars, as you know, from China. In fact, they never took the tariff off because it was so much money they can't. It would totally destroy everything that they've set out to do. They're taking in billions of dollars from China and other places. They've left the tariffs on. When I had it, I had tariffs, and yet I had no inflation. Look, we've had a terrible economy because inflation which is really known as a country buster. It breaks up countries. We have inflation like very few people have ever seen before, probably the worst in our nation's history. We were at 21%, but that's being generous because many things are 50, 60, 70, and 80% higher than they were.
Yeah. We were hearing from you is much, much worse. But anybody want to come up and share their thoughts or have an opinion upon when it comes to these two fine people that's gonna do good for you, but screw you in the end of the last 2 years? And he can't be reelected. If he gets elected, this is it. This is it. So, rather have Kamala, Trump.
People that she and Biden led into our country, and they're destroying our country. They're dangerous. They're at the highest level of criminality, and we have to get them out. We have to get them out fast. I created one of the greatest economies in the history of our country. I'll do it again and even better.
We are going to get to immigration and border security during this debate, but I would like to let Vice President Harris respond on the economy here.
Well, I would love to. Let's talk about what Donald Trump left us. Donald Trump left us the worst unemployment since the Great Depression. Donald Trump left us the worst public health epidemic in a century. Donald Trump left us the worst attack on our democracy since the Civil War. And what we have done is clean up Donald Trump's mess. What we have done and what I intend to do is build on what we know are the aspirations and the hopes of the American people. But I'm going to tell you all in this debate tonight, you're going to hear from the same old tired playbook, a bunch of lies, grievances, and name calling. What you're going to hear tonight is a detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if he were elected again. I believe very strongly that the American people want a president who understands the importance of bringing us together, knowing we have so much more in common than what separates us. And I pledge to you to be a president for all Americans.
President Trump, will give you a minute here to respond.
Number one, I have nothing to do, as you know, and as she knows better than anyone, I have nothing to do with Project 2025. That's out there. I haven't read it. I don't want to read it purposely. I'm not going to read it. This was a group of people that got together. They came up with some ideas, I guess some good, some bad, but it makes no difference. I have nothing to do. Everybody knows I'm an open book. Everybody knows what I'm going to do. Cut taxes very substantially and create a great economy like I did before. We had the greatest economy. We got hit with a pandemic. And the pandemic was not since 1917, where 100 million people died, has there been anything like it. We did a phenomenal job with the pandemic. We handed them over a country where the economy and where the stock market was higher than it was before the pandemic came in. Nobody's ever seen anything like it.
How many of y'all got them stimulus checks from? How many want another stimulus check? If I get another, I want a $2,000 stimulus check. No, I want a $200,000 stimulus check. Wishful thinking, right?
I was the one that created them. They know it, and so does everybody else.
Vice President Harris, I'll let you respond.
So Donald Trump has no plan for you. And when you look at his economic plan, it's all about tax breaks for the richest people. I am offering what I describe as an opportunity economy, and the best economists in our country, if not the world, have.
I'm not a politician, but I have to say, after listening to her for a whole hour, I have to say, what's that lady's name? I'm blanking. Hillary Clinton is much better. I don't know why I'm saying this, but Hillary Clinton is much, much better on the mic. And much, much better at telling lies. So let's get.
Actually has no plan for you because he is more interested in defending himself than he is in looking out for you.
That's just a soundbite. They gave her that to say. Look, I went to the Wharton School of Finance, and many of those professors, the top professors, think my plan is a brilliant plan. It's a great plan. It's a plan that's going to bring up our worth, our value as a country. It's going to make people want to be able to go and work and create jobs and create a lot of good, solid money for our country. And just to finish off, she doesn't have a plan. She copied Biden's plan, and it's like 4 sentences, like run, spot, run. 4 sentences that are just, oh, we'll try and lower taxes. She doesn't have a plan. Take a look at her plan. She doesn't have a plan.
Mr. President, I do want to drill down on something you both brought up. The vice president brought up your tariffs. You responded, and let's drill down on this, because your plan is what she calls is essentially a national sales tax. Your proposal calls for tariffs, as you pointed out here, on foreign imports across the board. You recently said that you might double your plan, imposing tariffs up to 20% on goods coming into this country. As you know, many economists say that with tariffs at that level, costs are then passed on to the consumer. Vice President Harris has argued it'll mean higher prices on gas, food, clothing, medication.
Y'all better start growing your foods. Y'all better start growing your foods immediately. Because what's coming down the pipeline in 2025, 2026, I don't think I want to eat this shit anymore. I mean, my stomach has not been the same. And I'm not going to lie to you. My stomach has not been the same since I ate the first time in 5-6 years, Wendy's. I had Wendy's last night or 2 nights ago, and my stomach had not been the same since. So start growing your own food, man. Stop eating Wendy's, Murder King, and all these other places.
Or eggs or anything else. The people of our country are absolutely dying with what they've done. They've destroyed the economy. And all you have to do is look at a poll. The polls say 80 and 85 and even 90% that the Trump economy was great, that their economy was terrible.
Vice President Harris, I do want to ask for your response. And you heard what the president said there, because the Biden administration did keep a number of the Trump tariffs in place. So how do you respond?
Well, let's be clear that the Trump administration resulted in a trade deficit, one of the highest we've ever seen in the history of America. He invited trade wars. You want to talk about his deal with China? What he ended up doing is, under Donald Trump's presidency, he ended up selling American chips to China to help them improve and modernize their military, basically sold us out, when a policy about China should be in making sure the United States of America wins the competition for the 21st century, which means focusing on the details of what that requires, focusing on relationships with our allies, focusing on investing in American-based technology so that we win the race on AI, on quantum computing, focusing on what we need to do to support America's workforce so that we don't end up having on the short end of the stick in terms of workers' rights. But what Donald Trump did, let's talk about this, with COVID, is he actually thanked President Xi for what he did during COVID. Look at—
Hey, you playing that game over there. Keep on running people over. Hey, do they have that update yet or not?
his tweet. Thank you, President Xi, exclamation point, when we know that Xi was responsible for lacking and not giving us transparency about the origins of COVID.
President Trump, I'll let you respond.
First of all, they bought their chips from Taiwan. We hardly make chips anymore because of philosophies like they have and policies like they have. I don't say her because she has no policy. Everything that she believed 3 years ago and 4 years ago is out the window. She's going to my philosophy now. In fact, I was going to send her a MAGA hat. She's gone to my philosophy. But if she ever got elected, she'd change it. And it will be the end of our country. She's a Marxist. Everybody knows she's a Marxist. Her father's a Marxist professor in economics, and he taught her well. But when you look at what she's done to our country, and when you look at these millions and millions of people that are pouring into our country monthly, where it's, I believe, 21 million people, not the 15 that people say, and I think it's a lot higher than the 21, That's bigger than New York State pouring in. And just look at what they're doing to our country. They're criminals. Many of these people coming in are criminals. And that's bad for our economy, too. You know, you mentioned before, we'll talk about immigration later. Well, bad immigration is the worst thing that can happen to our economy.
I like that part. But the other part, he already said this 4 years ago. 4 freaking years ago. It's like he took a script and he read it over and over and over again. And he said it to her. And it's quite frankly, it's working.
They have, and she has destroyed our country with policy that's insane. Almost policy that you'd say they have to hate our country.
President Trump, thank you. Lindsay?
I want to turn to the issue of abortion. President Trump, you've often touted that you were able to kill Roe v. Wade. Last year, you said that you were proud to be the most pro-life president in America.
Now, this is what I have an issue with. I wish I had some ladies up here to explain this to me. This is something that I would say this. Like I said, I'm pro-life, right? But I'm also pro-choice. Meaning that if a person is being raped or incest, then they should have a right to terminate the pregnancy. However, all that other mid stuff, I did it because the nigga left me. That's an excuse, and that's something that you're gonna have to deal with God with. All right, let's continue.
American history. Then last month, you said that your administration would be great for women and their reproductive rights. In your home state of Florida, you surprised many with regard to your 6-week abortion ban, because you initially had said that it was too short. And you said, quote, I'm going to be voting that we need more than 6 weeks. But then the very next day, you reversed course and said you would vote to support the 6-week ban. Vice President Harris says that women shouldn't trust you on the issue of abortion because you've changed your position so many times. Therefore, why should they trust you?
Well, the reason I'm doing that vote is because the plan is, as you know, the vote is, they have abortion in the 9th month. They even have, and you can look at the governor of West Virginia, the previous governor of West Virginia, not the current governor, is doing an excellent job, but the governor before, he said the baby will be born and we will decide what to do with the baby. In other words, we'll execute the baby. And that's why I did that, because that predominates, because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that. And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me, hence the vote. But what I did is something for 52 years. They've been trying to get Roe v. Wade into the states. And through the genius and heart and strength of 6 Supreme Court justices, we were able to do that. Now, I believe in the exceptions for rape, incest, and life of the mother. I believe strongly in it. Ronald Reagan did also. 85% of Republicans do. Exceptions, very important. But we were able to get it, and now states are voting on it. And for the first time, you're going to see, look, this is an issue that's torn our country apart for 52 years. Every legal scholar, every Democrat, every Republican, liberal, conservative, they all wanted this issue to be brought back to the states where the people could vote. And that's what happened. Now, Ohio, the vote was somewhat liberal. Kansas, the vote was somewhat liberal, much more liberal than people would have thought. But each individual state is voting. It's the vote of the people now. It's not tied up in the federal government. I did a great service in doing it. It took courage to do it. And the Supreme Court had great courage in doing it. And I give tremendous credit to those 6 justices.
There is no state in this country where it is legal to kill a baby after it's born. Madam Vice President, I want to get your response to President Trump.
Well, as I said, you're going to hear a bunch of lies, and that's not actually a surprising fact. Let's understand how we got here. Donald Trump hand-selected 3 members of the United States Supreme Court with the intention that they would undo the protections of Roe v. Wade. And they did exactly as he intended. And now in over 20 states, there are Trump abortion bans, which make it criminal for a doctor or nurse to provide health care. In one state, it provides.
I don't want to be crazy on this particular subject here because I have no dog in this fight because my daughter just came in here whining and crying. I was the eighth grade. Only she's still sleeping. She need to be sleeping. But the eighth grade. Wait till you get to the ninth grade. And then the 10th. But anyway, this subject very touchy, and this is the type of subject that might get Harris elected because Trump was never good at this particular subjects like this. No man is ever good at a particular subject like this. But anyway, this is going to be difficult. But like I said, this is your time. Who wins? Trump or Harris? Let's continue.
It's prison for life. Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime, a violation to their body, does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And one does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government, and Donald Trump certainly, should not be telling a woman what to do with her body. I have talked with women around our country. You want to talk about this is what people wanted? Pregnant women who want to carry a pregnancy to term, suffering from a miscarriage, being denied care in an emergency room because the healthcare providers are afraid they might go to jail, and she's bleeding out in a car in the parking lot. She didn't want that. Her husband didn't want that. A 12 or 13-year-old survivor of incest being forced to carry a pregnancy to term. They don't want that. And I pledge to you, when Congress passes a bill to put back in place the protections of Roe v. Wade, as President of the United States, I will proudly sign it into law. But understand, if Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. Understand, in his Project 2025, there would be a national abortion, a monitor that would be monitoring your pregnancies, your miscarriages.
Ain't this what we're in this country for? Is to enjoy life. I don't think death is what God intended, because he even says in the Bible that God loves children. Are we actually going against God? Like I said, this is a difficult subject. But we know what the right thing is. We just don't want to exercise it.
I think the American people believe that certain freedoms, in particular the freedom to make decisions about one's own body, should not be made by the government.
Thank you, Vice President Harris.
Well, there she goes again. It's a lie. I'm not signing a ban, and there's no reason to sign a ban because we've gotten what everybody wanted. Democrats, Republicans, and everybody else. And every legal scholar wanted it to be brought back into the states. And the states are voting. And it may take a little time. But for 52 years, this issue has torn our country apart. And they've wanted it back in the states. And I did something that nobody thought was possible. The states are now voting. What she says is an absolute lie. And as far as the abortion ban, no, I'm not in favor of abortion ban, but it doesn't matter because this issue has now been taken over by the states.
Would you veto a national abortion ban if it came
Well,
to
I
your
won't
desk?
have to because, again, two things. Number one, she said she'll go back to Congress. She'll never get the vote. It's impossible for her to get the vote, especially now with the 50-50 and essentially 50-50 in both Senate and the House. She's not going to get the vote. She can't get the vote. She won't even come close to it. So it's just talk. You know what it reminds me of? When they said they're going to get student loans terminated, and it ended up being a total catastrophe. The student loans, and then her, I think probably her boss, if you call him a boss, he spends all his time on the beach. But look, her boss went out and said, we'll do it again. We'll do it a different way. And he went out, got rejected again by the Supreme Court. So all these students got taunted with this whole thing about this whole idea. And how unfair that would have been, part of the reason they lost, to the millions and millions of people that had to pay off their student loans. They didn't get it for free. But they were saying it's the same way that they talked about that they talk about abortion.
But if I could just get a yes or no, because your running mate, J.D. Vance, has said that you would veto it if it did come to your desk.
Well, I didn't discuss it with J.D. In all fairness, J.D., and I don't mind if he has a certain view, but I think he was speaking for me, but I really didn't. Look, we don't have to discuss it because she'd never be able to get it, just like she couldn't get student loans. They couldn't get student loans. They didn't even come close to getting student loans. They taunted young people and a lot of other people that had loans. They can never get this approved. So it doesn't matter what she says about going to Congress. Well, wonderful. Let's go to Congress, do it. But the fact is that for years, they wanted to get it out of Congress and out of the federal government. And we did something that everybody said couldn't be done. And now you have a vote of the people on abortion.
Vice President Harris, I want to give you your time to respond, but I do want to ask, would you support any restrictions on a woman's right to an abortion?
I absolutely support reinstating the protections of Roe v. Wade. And as you rightly mentioned, nowhere in America is a woman carrying a pregnancy to term and asking for an abortion. That is not happening. It's insulting to the women of America. And understand what has been happening under Donald Trump's abortion bans. Couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. What is happening in our country? Working people, working women who are working 1 or 2 jobs, who can barely afford childcare as it is, have to travel to another state to get on a plane sitting next to strangers to go and get the health care she needs, barely can afford to do it. And what you are putting her through is unconscionable. And the people of America have not, the majority of Americans believe in a woman's right to make decisions about her own body. And that is why in every state where this issue has been on the ballot, in red and blue states both, the people of America have voted for freedom.
Vice President Harris,
excuse me, I have to respond. Another lie. It's another lie. I have been a leader on IVF, which is fertilization. The IVF, I have been a leader. In fact, when they got a very negative decision on IVF from the Alabama courts, I saw the people of Alabama and the legislature 2 days later voted it in. I've been a leader on it. They know that, and everybody else knows it. I have been a leader on fertilization, IVF. And the other thing, you should ask, will she allow abortion in the 8th month, 9th month, 7th month?
Come on.
Okay, would you do that? Why don't you ask her that question?
Why don't you answer the question? Would you
because
veto?
Under Roe v.
Answer
Wade,
the question, would you veto?
you could do abortions in the 7th month, the 8th month, the 9th
That's
month,
not true.
and probably after birth. Just look at the governor, former governor of Virginia. The governor of Virginia said, we put the baby aside and then we determine what we want to do with the baby.
President Trump, thank you.
We're going to turn now to immigration and border security. We know it's an issue that's important to Republicans, Democrats, voters across the board in this country. Vice President Harris, you were tasked by President Biden with getting to the root causes of migration from Central America. We know that illegal border crossings reached a record high in the Biden administration. This past June, President Biden imposed tough new asylum restrictions. We know the numbers since then have dropped significantly. But my question to you tonight is, why did the administration wait until 6 months before the election to act? And would you have done anything differently from President Biden on this?
So I'm the only person on this stage who has prosecuted transnational criminal organizations for the trafficking of guns, drugs, and human beings. And let me say that the United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border to help those folks who are working there right now overtime, trying to do their job. It would have allowed us to stem the flow of fentanyl coming into the United States. I know there are so many families watching tonight who have been personally affected by the surge of fentanyl in our country. That bill would have put more resources to allow us to prosecute transnational criminal organizations for trafficking in guns, drugs, and human beings. But you know what happened to that bill? Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said, kill the bill. And you know why? Because he'd prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And understand, this comes at a time where the people of our country actually need leaders in solutions who actually addresses the problems at hand. But what we have in the former president is someone who would prefer to run on a problem instead of fixing a problem. And I'll tell you something, he's going to talk about immigration a lot tonight, even when it's not the subject that is being raised. And I'm going to actually do something really unusual, and I'm going to invite you to attend one of Donald Trump's rallies, because it's a really interesting thing to watch. You will see during the course of his rallies, he talks about fictional characters like Hannibal Lecter. He will talk about windmills cause cancer. And what you will also notice is that people start leaving his rallies early out of exhaustion and boredom. And I will tell you, the one thing you will not hear him talk about is you. You will not hear him talk about your needs, your dreams, and your desires. And I'll tell you, I believe you deserve a president who actually puts you first. And I pledge to you that I will.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, on that point, I want to get your response.
Well, I would like to respond.
Let me just ask, though, why did you try to kill that bill, and successfully so? That would have put thousands of additional agents and officers on the border.
First, let me respond as to the
Please.
rallies. She said people start leaving. People don't go to her rallies. There's no reason to go. And the people that do go, she's bussing them in and paying them to be there, and then showing them in a different light. She can't talk about that. People don't leave my rallies. We have the
people get beat up at your rallies. Oops, was I supposed to say that? Was I supposed to say that? No, I wasn't supposed to say that. If black, especially black folks, black people get beat up at your rallies, sir. Sir. I don't remember any Democrats getting beat up in their rallies. I've never been to a Kamala Harris rally. I've been to a Barack Obama rally. I never gotten beaten up. I mean, let's tell the truth here. Let's tell the truth. This debate is a little bit dry, but I mean, let's keep going.
biggest rallies, the most incredible rallies in the history of politics. That's because people want to take their country back. Our country is being lost. We're a failing nation. And it happened 3.5 years ago. And what's going on here, you're going to end up in World War III, just to go into another subject. What they have done to our country by allowing these millions and millions of people to come into our country, and look at what's happening to the towns all over the United States. And a lot of towns don't want to talk. It's not going to be Aurora or Springfield. A lot of towns don't want to talk about it because they're so embarrassed by it. In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's
what is the randomness that this man spews when debating? I don't know if he won or lost. This is insane, but I'm laughing inside because if she wins the debate doesn't mean she wins the vote. Just because she wins the debate doesn't mean she wins the vote. Let me be perfectly clear. If she wins the debate does not mean she wins the presidency. Let's keep that perfectly clear. All right, let's go.
Shame. As far as rallies are concerned, as far as the reason they go is they like what I say. They want to bring our country back. They want to make America great again. It's a very simple phrase, make America great again. She's destroying this country. And if she becomes president, this country doesn't have a chance of success. Not only success, we'll end up being Venezuela on steroids.
I just want to clarify here. You bring up Springfield, Ohio, and ABC News did reach out to the city manager there. He told us there have been no credible reports of specific claims of pets being harmed, injured, or abused by individuals within the immigrant community.
Well, I've seen people on television.
Let me just say here, this is
the people on television say my dog was taken and used for food. So maybe he said that, and maybe that's a good thing to say for a city manager.
I'm not taking this from
but
television.
The people
I'm
on
taking
television
it from the city
saying
manager.
their dog was eaten by
Jesus Christ.
The people that went there.
Again, the Springfield city manager says there's no evidence of that. Vice
We'll
President
find
Harris,
out.
I'll let you respond to the rest of what you've heard.
You talk about extreme.
Bridge, this is a dry but yet entertaining debate. Who do you think? How are you doing, Bridge?
Worked with President Bush, Mitt Romney, and John McCain, including the endorsement of former Vice President Dick Cheney and Congress member Liz Cheney. And if you want to really know the inside track on who the former president is, if he didn't make it clear already, just ask people who have worked with him. His former chief of staff, a 4-star general, has said he has contempt for the Constitution of the United States. His former national security advisor has said he is dangerous and unfit. His former Secretary of Defense has said the nation, the republic, would never survive another Trump term. And when we listen to this kind of rhetoric, when the issues that affect the American people are not being addressed, I think the choice is clear in this election.
President Trump, I'll give you a quick minute to respond here.
Thank you. Because when I hear that, see, I'm a different kind of a person. I fired most of those people. Not so graciously. They did bad things or a bad job. I fired them. They never fired one person. They didn't fire anybody having to do with Afghanistan and the Taliban and the 13 people who's were just killed, viciously and violently killed. And I get to know the penalty.
He is good at his job, but when it comes to debating, he sucks.
Fired. They should have fired all those generals, all those top people, because that was one of the most incompetently handled situations anybody has ever seen. So when somebody does a bad job, I fire him. And you
good,
I fired him. So he writes a book. Another one writes a book, because with me, they can write books. With nobody else can they? But they have done such a poor job, and they never fire anybody. Look at the economy. Look at the inflation. They didn't fire any of their economists. They have the same people. That's a good way not to have books written about you. But just to finish, I got more votes than any Republican in history by far. In fact, I got more votes than any sitting president in history by far.
Let me continue on immigration. It was what you wanted to talk about earlier. So let's get back to your deportation proposal that the vice president has reacted to as well. President Trump, you call this the largest domestic deportation operation in the history of our country. You say you would use.
How many black folks done got smacked up at your rally? Oh, I had a few. I had very, very few. I mean, they were very disrespectful. And excuse me. They were very disrespectful. They were very disrespectful. I'm going to be president of the United States of America. You know, this is a great country. We're going to make it great again real soon. And all of my blacks are going to be enslaved. I mean, they're going to be paid tremendous money because I like the blacks. I do tremendously. I like the blacks. What a lie.
Use the National Guard. You say if things get out of control, you'd have no problem using the U.S. military.
Yes.
You also said you would use local police. How would you deport 11 million undocumented immigrants? I know you believe that number is much higher. Take us through this. What does this look like? Will authorities be going door to door in this country?
Yeah.
Door in this country?
Yeah.
Hit the like button when you coming in. Hit the like button. Helps the algorithm. People coming in. Anybody want to join the panel, the clan?
It is much higher because of them. They allowed criminals, many, many millions of criminals. They allowed terrorists. They allowed common street criminals. They allowed people to come in, drug dealers, to come into our country. And they're now in the United States and told by their countries like Venezuela, don't ever come back or we're going to kill you. Do you know that crime in Venezuela and crime in countries all over the world is way down? You know why? Because they've taken their criminals off the street and they've given them to her to put into our country. And this will be one of the greatest mistakes in history for them to allow. And I think they probably did it because they think they're going to get votes, but it's not worth it because they're destroying the fabric of our country by what they've done. There's never been anything done like this at all. They've destroyed the fabric of our country. Millions of people let in, and all over the world, crime is down all over the world except here. Crime here is up and through the roof. Despite their fraudulent statements that they made, crime in this country is through the roof. And we have a new form of crime. It's called migrant crime. And it's happening at levels that nobody thought possible.
President Trump, as you know, the FBI says overall violent crime is actually coming down in this country. But
excuse me, the FBI they were defrauding statements. They didn't include the worst cities. They didn't include the cities with the worst crime. It was a fraud, just like their number of 818,000 jobs that they said they created turned out to be a fraud.
President Trump, thank you. I'll let you respond, Vice President Harris.
Well, I think this is so rich coming from someone who has been prosecuted for national security crimes, economic crimes, election interference, has been found liable for sexual assault, and his next big court appearance is in November at his own criminal sentencing. And let's be clear where each person stands on the issue of what is important about respect for the rule of law and respect for law enforcement. The former vice president called for defunding federal law enforcement, 45,000 agents, get this, on the day after he was arraigned on 34 felony counts.
Yeah, she won this one. She definitely won this one.
So let's talk about what is important in this race. It is important that we move forward, that we turn the page on this same old tired rhetoric and address the needs of the American people, address what we need.
At the same time, I don't want this old hag in office. I don't know. That's why I'm going to get that t-shirt. Vote for what? What am I voting? Who am I voting for? These are bad. This is a bad choice. So, no, none of you motherfuckers get my vote. But this is a good debate, though.
Need to do about the housing shortage, which I have a plan for. Address what we must do to support our small businesses. Address bringing down the price of groceries. But frankly, the American people are exhausted with this same old tired playbook.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
Excuse me. Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened in this country. They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases. And then they say, oh, he's a criminal. They're the ones that made them go after me. By the way, Joe Biden was found essentially guilty on the documents case. And what happened in my documents case? They said, oh, that's the toughest of them all. A complete and total victory. 2 months ago, it was thrown out. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
President Trump, thank you. A really quick response here, Vice President Harris, on this notion of weaponization of the Justice Department.
Well, let's talk about extreme and understand the context in which this election in 2024 is taking place. The United States Supreme Court recently ruled that the former president would essentially be immune from any misconduct if he were to enter the White House again. Understand, this is someone who has openly said he would terminate, I'm quoting, terminate the Constitution of the United States.
If she, how much you want to bet if she wins? I'm not talking about the debate, but the presidency. How much you want to bet that there's going to be passports being bought? a lot of these Negroes are going to be buying passports. Oh, I'm gonna laugh my ass off if she wins. I'm gonna laugh my ass off. I want to look at the faces of all these dudes. Angry man, especially. Is he going to? Is he gonna leave the country? Is Anton gonna leave the country? Is your favorite red pill warrior is gonna leave the country? I don't want to call him no name, but good rhetoric. I don't want. No, they're gonna end up leaving. How much you want to bet? How much you want to bet they're gonna end up leaving the country? I'll bet you 10. I'll bet you 100 to 1 they're gonna leave the country. They already got people leaving. So when she was the presidency, and it looks like I don't know. I do not know. This is going to be a tough one. Let's continue.
That he would weaponize the Department of Justice against his political enemies. Someone who has openly expressed disdain for members of our military. Understand what it would mean if Donald Trump were back in the White House with no guardrails, because certainly we know now the court won't stop him. We know J.D. Vance is not going to stop him. It's up to the American people.
Vice President Harris, him. Thank you. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president.
This is the one that weaponized, not me. She weaponized. I probably took a bullet to the head because of the things that they say about me. They talk about democracy. I'm a threat to democracy. They're the threat.
You took a bullet to the ear. Let's keep it real. But I would never say this, so YouTube, don't dox me for this. But there was a particular person, I forgot who it was. I think it was Montrese. And he's not a content creator, but it was Montrese that said, take one step to the right. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I'm gonna freaking say. How the hell do you miss? How the hell do you miss deliberately? That shit was, to me, that shit was planned. That shit was planned. But I'm probably gonna get doxxed for it. But anyway.
To democracy with a fake Russia investigation
we do have a lot
that went nowhere.
We have a lot to get to. Lindsay?
Vice President Harris, in your last run for president, you said you wanted to ban fracking. Now you don't. You wanted mandatory government buyback programs for assault weapons. Now your campaign says you don't. You supported decriminalizing border crossings. Now you're taking a harder line. I know you say that your values have not changed. So then why have so many of your policy positions changed?
So my values have not changed, and I'm going to discuss at least every point that you've made. But in particular, let's talk about fracking because we're here in Pennsylvania. I made that very clear in 2020. I will not ban fracking. I have not banned fracking as Vice President of the United States. And in fact, I was the tie-breaking vote on the Inflation Reduction Act, which opened new leases for fracking. My position is that we have got to invest in diverse sources of energy so we reduce our reliance on foreign oil. We have had the largest increase in domestic oil production in history because of an approach that recognizes that we cannot over-rely on foreign oil. As it relates to my values, let me tell you, I grew up a middle-class kid raised by a hardworking mother who worked and saved and was able to buy our first home when I was a teenager. The values I bring to the importance of home ownership, knowing not everybody got handed $400 million on a silver platter and then filed bankruptcy 6 times, is a value that I bring to my work to say we are going to work with the private sector and home builders to increase 3 million homes, increase by 3 million homes by the end of my first term. My work that is related to having a friend when I was in high school who was sexually assaulted by her stepfather. And my focus then on protecting women and children from violent crime is based on a value that is deeply grounded in the importance of standing up for those who are most vulnerable. My work that is about protecting Social Security and Medicare is based on longstanding work that I have done, protecting seniors from scams. My values have not changed. And what is important is that there is a president who actually brings values and a perspective that is about lifting people up and not beating people down and name calling. The true measure of the leader is the leader who actually understands the strength is not in beating people down, it's in lifting people up. I intend to be that president.
President Trump, your
Well,
response?
first of all, I wasn't given $400 million. I wish I was. My father was a Brooklyn builder, Brooklyn, Queens, and a great father, and I learned a lot from him. But I was given a fraction of that, a tiny fraction, and I built it into many, many billions of dollars, many, many billions. And when people see it, they are even surprised. So we don't have to talk about that. Fracking, she's been against it for 12 years. Defund the police, she's been against that forever. She gave all that stuff up very wrongly, very horribly, and everybody's laughing at it, okay? They're all laughing at it. She gave up at least 12 and probably 14 or 15 different policies. Like, she was big on defund the police. In Minnesota, she went out, wait a minute, I'm talking now, if you don't mind, please. Does that sound familiar? She went out in Minnesota and wanted to let criminals that killed people, that burned down Minneapolis, she went out and raised money to get them out of jail. She did things that nobody would ever think of. Now she wants to do transgender operations on illegal aliens that are in prison. This is a radical left liberal that would do this. She wants to confiscate your guns, and she will never allow fracking in Pennsylvania. If she won the election, fracking in Pennsylvania will end on day one. Just to finish, one thing so important in my opinion. So I got the oil.
What the hell is fracking? Can anybody put that in the comment section, please, or in the chat? What is fracking? What are they talking about?
Business going like nobody has ever done before. When they took over, they got rid of it, started getting rid of it, and the prices were going up the roof. They immediately let these guys go to where they were. I would have 5 times, 4 times, 5 times higher, because you're talking about 3.5 years ago. They got it up to where I was because they had no choice, because the prices of energy were quadrupling and doubling. You saw what happened to gasoline. So they said, let's go back to Trump. But if she won the election, the day after that election, they'll go back to destroying our country, and oil will be dead. Fossil fuel will be dead. We'll go back to windmills, and we'll go back to solar, where they need a whole desert to get some energy to come out. You ever see a solar plant? By the way, I'm a big fan of solar, but they take 400, 500 acres of desert soil.
Trump, we have a
These
lot
are
of
not good
issues
things
that
for
we
the
have to get
environment,
to.
as
We're
she
out of time.
understands.
Thank you.
Lindsay, thank you. We have an election in just 56 days. And I want to talk about the peaceful transfer of power, which, of course, we all know is a cornerstone of our democracy, and the role of a president in a moment of crisis. Mr. President, on January 6th, you told your supporters to march to the Capitol. You said you would be right there with them. The country and the world saw what played out at the Capitol that day, the officers coming under attack. Aides in the West Wing say you watched it unfold on television off the Oval Office. You did send out tweets, but it was more than 2 hours before you sent out that video message telling your supporters to go home. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
You just said a thing that isn't covered. Peacefully and patriotically, I said during my speech, not later on. Peacefully and patriotically. And nobody on the other side was killed. Ashley Babbitt was shot by an out-of-control police officer that should have never, ever shot her.
Man, you orchestrated that rally. You are nah, we ain't going. You orchestrated that whole riot. You orchestrated that whole thing that happened at the Capitol. Come on, bruh.
It's a disgrace. But we didn't do this group of people that have been treated so badly. I ask, what about all the people that are pouring into our country and killing people that she allowed to pour in? She was the border czar. Remember that. She was the border czar. She doesn't want to be called the border czar because she's embarrassed by the border. In fact, she said at the beginning, oh, I'm surprised you're not talking about the border yet. That's because she knows what a bad job they've done. What about those people? When are they going to be prosecuted? When are these people from countries all over the world, not just South America? They're coming in from all over the world, David, all over the world. And crime rates are down all over the world because of it.
But let me just
when are those, David, when are those people going to be prosecuted? When are the people that burned down Minneapolis going to be prosecuted? Or in Seattle, they went into Seattle, they took over a big percentage of the city of Seattle. When are those people going to be prosecuted?
But let me just ask
you. You might ask her that question.
You were the president. You were watching it unfold on television. It's a very simple question as we move forward toward another election. Is there anything you regret about what you did on that day?
No.
Yes or no?
I had nothing to do with that other than they asked me to make a speech. I showed up for a speech. I said, I think it's going to be big. I went to Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington, D.C., and the mayor put it back in writing, as you know. I said, you know,
how many? Put a one in the chat if you believe that he's lying. Put a one in the chat if you believe that he's lying.
This is going to be a very big rally or whatever you want to call it. And again, it wasn't done by me. It was done by others. I said, I'd like to give you 10,000 National Guard or soldiers. They rejected me. Nancy Pelosi rejected me. It was just 2 weeks ago. Her daughter has a tape of her saying she is fully responsible for what happened. They want to get rid of that tape. It would have never happened if Nancy Pelosi and the mayor of Washington did their jobs. I wasn't responsible for security. Nancy Pelosi was responsible. She didn't do her job.
The question was about you as president, not about former Speaker Pelosi, but I do want Vice President Harris to respond here.
I was at the Capitol on January 6th. I was the vice president-elect. I was also an acting senator. I was there. And on that day, the president of the United States incited a violent mob to attack our nation's capital, to desecrate our nation's capital. On that day, 140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. And understand, the former president has been indicted and impeached for exactly that reason. But this is not an isolated situation. Let's remember Charlottesville, where there was a mob of people carrying tiki torches, spewing anti-Semitic hate. And what did the president then at the time say? There were fine people on each side. On each side. Let's remember that when it came.
That is true. It was on his watch. It was true.
Came to the Proud Boys, a militia. The president said, the former president said, stand back and stand by. So for everyone watching who remembers what January 6th was, I say, we don't have to go back. Let's not go back. We're not going back. It's time to turn the page. And if that was a bridge too far for you, well, there is a place in our campaign for you to stand for country, to stand for our democracy, to stand for rule of law, and to end the chaos, and to end the approach that is about attacking the foundations of our democracy because you don't like the outcome. And be clear on that point. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking. Let's turn the page on this. Let's not go back.
You know what's funny? None of these mention anything about reparations. Not Trump, not Harris. This is going to be, in my opinion, I might be wrong. In my opinion, this is going to be the lowest voting deficit that has ever been in the United States of America. They're going to get the votes, but dangerously, it might favor Kamala. Don't want it to, but at the same time, I don't want it to go to him. But he's going to get people paid. She's not. He's going to get people jobs. She's not. This is going to be quite interesting. She would be the first 47th president of the United States, the first elected Madam President of the United States of America. Oh boy. I don't think I would want to be here. And then this is the worst. Couldn't they find a better candidate for Republican? Couldn't they find a better candidate for Democrat? At least it would have been fair.
Let's chart a course for the future and not go backwards to the past.
Let me just follow up here.
It was a different term, and it was a term that related to energy because they have destroyed our energy business. That was where bloodbath was. Also, on Charlottesville, that story has been, as you would say, debunked. Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, Jesse, all of these people, they covered it. If they go an extra sentence, they will see it was perfect. It was debunked in almost every newspaper, but they still bring it up, just like they bring 2025 up. They bring all of this stuff up. I ask you this. You talk about the Capitol. Why are we allowing these millions of people to come through on the southern border? How come she's not doing anything? And I'll tell you what I would do, and I would be very proud to do it. I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill to close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Right. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill. If he signs a bill that the border is closed, all he has to do is say it to the Border Patrol, who are phenomenal. If they do that, the border is closed. Mr. Those President, people are killing many people, unlike J6.
We talked immigration here tonight. I do want to focus on this next issue to both of you because it really brings us this into focus, truth in these times that we're living in. Mr. President, for 3.5 years after you lost the 2020 election, you repeatedly falsely claimed that you won, many times saying you won in a landslide. In the past couple of weeks leading up to this debate, you have said, quote, you lost by a whisker, that you, quote, didn't quite make it, that you came up a little bit short.
I said that?
Are you now acknowledging that you lost in 2020?
No, I don't acknowledge that at all.
But
I
you
said
did
that
say
sarcastically.
But
You know that. It was said, oh, we lost by a whisker. That was said sarcastically. Look, there's so much proof. All you have to do is look at it. And they should have sent it back to the legislatures for approval. I got almost 75 million votes, the most votes any sitting president has ever gotten. I was told if I got 63, which was what I got in 2016, you can't be beaten. The election, people should never be thinking about an election as fraudulent. We need two things. We need walls, and we have to have it. We have to have borders, and we have to have good elections. Our elections are bad. And a lot of these illegal immigrants coming in, they're trying to get them to vote. They can't even speak English. They don't even know what country they're in practically. And these people are trying to get them to vote. And that's why they're allowing them to come into our country.
I did watch all of these pieces of video. I didn't detect the sarcasm, lost by a whisker. We didn't quite make it. And we should just point out here as clarification, and you know this, you and your allies, 60 cases in front of many judges, many of them
No
Republican.
judge looked at it.
And said
they said we didn't have standing. That's the other thing. They said we didn't have standing, a technicality. Can you imagine a system where a person in an election doesn't have standing? The president of the United States doesn't have standing. That's how we lost. If you look at the facts, and I'd love to have you'll do a special on it. I'll show you Georgia, and I'll show you Wisconsin, and I'll show you Pennsylvania, and I'll show you. We have so many facts and statistics, but you know what?
Is this thing almost done? I mean, I'm getting bored already.
That doesn't matter, because we have to solve the problem that we have right now. That's old news. And the problem that we have right now is we have a nation in decline, and they have put it into decline. We have a nation that is done.
Yes, because of you and your cronies. That's why the nation is in the decline, but it ain't going to be no better under her law either.
David.
Mr. President, thank you. Vice President Harris, you heard the president there tonight. He said he didn't say that he lost by whiskers. So he still believes he did not lose the election that was won by President Biden and yourself. But I do want to ask you about something that's come up in the last couple of days. This was a post from President Trump about this upcoming election just weeks away. He said, when I win, those people who cheated, and then he lists donors, voters, election officials, he says will be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law, which will include long-term prison sentences. One of your campaign's top lawyers responded saying, we won't let Donald Trump intimidate us. We won't let him suppress the vote. Is that what you believe he's trying to do here?
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot afford to have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election. And I'm going to tell you that I have traveled the world as Vice President of the United States, and world leaders are laughing at Donald Trump. I have talked with military leaders, some of whom worked with you, and they say you're a disgrace. And when you then talk in this way in a presidential debate and deny what over and over again are court cases you have lost because you did, in fact, lose that election, it leads one to believe that perhaps we do not have in the candidate to my right the temperament or the ability to not be confused about fact. That's deeply troubling, and the American people deserve better.
I'll give you 1 minute to respond, Mr. President.
Let me just say about world leaders. Viktor Orban, one of the most respected men, they call him a strong man. He's a tough person, smart. Prime Minister of Hungary. They said, why is the whole world blowing up? 3 years ago, it wasn't. Why is it blowing up? He said, because you need Trump back as president. They were afraid of him. China was afraid, and I don't like to use the word afraid, but I'm just quoting him. China was afraid of him. North Korea was afraid of him. Look at what's going on with North Korea, by the way. He said Russia was afraid of him. I ended the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, and Biden put it back on day one, but he ended the XL pipeline. The XL pipeline in our country, he ended that. But he let the Russians build a pipeline going all over Europe and heading into Germany, the biggest pipeline in the world. Look, Viktor Orban.
Listen, no one cares about nobody cares about Viktor Orban or China with Eeyore Bean or whatever the hell his name is. We just want our money. We just want give me my money or give me my land. That should be a song. Give me my money or give me my land. Give me my money, give me my land. Give me my money, give me my land. Give me my money or give me my land.
Said it. He said the most respected, most feared person is Donald Trump. We had no problems when Trump was president. But when this weak, pathetic man that you saw at a debate just a few months ago, that if he weren't in that debate, he'd be running instead of her. She got no votes. He got 14 million votes. What you did, you talk about a threat to democracy. He got 14 million votes, and they threw him out of office. And you know what? I'll give you a little secret. He hates her. He can't stand her. But he got 14 million votes. They threw him out. She got 0 votes. And when she ran, she was the first one to leave because she failed. And now she's running. I don't understand it, but I'm okay with it because
your time is
I think
up.
we're going to do very well.
We've got a lot more to get to.
Turning now
Yes.
to the Israel-Hamas war and the hostages who are still being held, Americans among them. Vice President Harris, in December, you said, quote, Israel has a right to defend itself, but you added, quote, it matters how, saying international humanitarian law must be respected. Israel must do more to protect innocent civilians. You said that 9 months.
Would have never started. If I were president, with Ukraine and Russia.
Wants to be a dictator on day one, according to himself. It is well known that he said of Putin that
he's the one that called because they're.
Who cares? All right. All right. I don't care about none of that other stuff. What do you think so far? It is stated that she basically ramroded. She ramroded that dude. I mean, let's just, let's just got some other BS that happened over here. Let's look at the news, shall we? Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Tell a friend, tell a friend. If you have not become a member of the We-On-Loc channel, please do so. We had a member join the channel last week that would be anti-social. Much love to you. We do appreciate you. We do need a lot of members to up our algorithm, or whatever you call it, the thing. Yeah, let's look at the news and see what this, because I got bored listening to him. After the first couple of times, it's like, this is quite interesting. But then afterwards, it's like, okay, you lie about a lot of shit. You do. Yeah, this is I'm telling you. We had when we had the presidency, we were doing great. We did great numbers. Shut up, silly woman. We did great numbers. You can't tell us we did great numbers. We did awesome numbers. Who do you think you're talking to? See, you're rude. You're rude. Nobody wants to talk to you. Nobody wants to talk to you. It was like, I can just imagine how his father was. But let me see what I can do. Who won the debate tonight? Who won? Let's start here. Hold on. Fair use. Who won the debate? I'll get to you in a second. What you say? I think he won by a large margin. I don't know. We'll see what this says. We'll definitely see what this says. I don't know.
Both parties entering this night with high expectations and hopes. The stakes very high, and tonight many telling us this debate delivered. A large Democrats gathering for a debate watch party at the IBEW Hall at 22nd and Martin Luther King Drive. At times applauding, booing, even groaning. It was a lively night, and minutes ago, some of those folks weighing in.
I think she did a great job of highlighting just the truth of who Donald Trump is, and most importantly, how dangerous he is.
I see this in her, this energy, and the same kind of energy is in this room, right? That we are going forward. That's old news.
She's, again, countering the lies that Donald Trump has told about the economy. He is not telling the truth about what he did with our economy.
Elsewhere, the Chicago Republican Party hosting a pair of debate gatherings, one of them on the near west side. A lot of energy in that room, animated reactions, and afterward, strong opinions.
Projecting strength. He's showing America what we need.
The vice president has had a history of where we are now and the problems of the last 4 years. And she can't run away from those. And the president has addressed those issues.
You know, I have to give Donald Trump credit, he is a blunt instrument to say that. He came in there and he really just tried to hammer some of his positions.
At those two gatherings, the parties building their organizations, getting people signed up to volunteer and campaign, capitalizing on the energy of this night.
Watch breaking news on YouTube. Subscribe to ABC7 Chicago Eyewitness News.
Let me see. Who will lose the great debate? Give me 1 second. Oh, that was 2 days ago. Well, and humbly, in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I would say she won because she basically stuck to some points, because he knows how to lie a lot, like we said before. But at the same time, lie or truth, it's not going to even matter, due to the fact that he's going to get people paid. He's going to get people paid. He's going to get people in the jobs. He's going to get people, and pretty much the cost of everything is going to go down, because people are willing to come up to him, and he's actually going to have a conversation with them. With Kamala Harris, it's going to be quite different. But all these females, and most of them are elderly, actually has spent a lot of money. And I'm thinking to myself, with that money, we could have had a small business. We could have had a small business growing. You spent over $1 million on Kamala Harris. That is crazy to me. Crazy. If you think he's gonna win, or excuse me, if you think she's gonna win due to her policy, which I don't even know what her policy is. If you think he's gonna win due to the fact that he's gonna get everybody paid, basically, vote for Donald Trump. Although I would take strong precautions. I would say this, you don't have to vote nationally. You can vote locally. You can vote your local legislators, your local mayor, your mayors, your everybody else in between. You don't have to vote nationally. You can just hold your vote, because like I said, none of them talk about tax cuts. What is tax cuts going to do? None of them are going or said anything about reparations for African Americans. I don't care for ADOS. I don't care for FBA. All I know is, if you had family who was a victim of slavery, and if you can trace that family back to that particular point, and if that person is in your family, you deserve reparations in a form of, they're gonna give you in the form of a check. And if they do decide to give you in the form of a check, then I would definitely say, because I'm not a math whiz at all. Let's just say 500,000 to families, 500,000 to those families who can trace their lineage back. 500,000 who can trace their lineage back. Yeah, but like I said, yeah, but anybody have any comments? Anybody have any questions? Anybody comments? Anybody have any questions? No, he didn't come out with anything quite just yet, but I guess we can look over some things.
Talk about what happens after it occurs. We have to be able to actually predict what is going to happen with a very, very good degree of accuracy. But you have to be able to analyze the factors. Now, why is this important? What they will try to tell you, and remember, they were telling you that presidential debates didn't matter. Remember? Yeah, they were telling you that, they don't really matter. And then after Biden out, they reminded you again, yeah, they do. Yeah, they do. You start taking a look at factors, and there are certain factors that tell you certain things. And when you start analyzing those, you start realizing how things are going to match up. Please remember, Donald Trump has ended the political careers of not one, but two Democrat frontrunners at the presidential debate. He's ended not one, but two. He's a veteran of 6 presidential debates. So this man has a wealth of experience where that's concerned.
Yes,
whether you like him, whether you don't.
Right.
Kamala Harris has spent the better part of the last month and a half hiding from anything that even resembles a television camera that could ask a question.
And he's perfectly right. But you also notice that people write scripts for actors, right? What script? It's easy to write a script for an upcoming president. How did she become vice president? Joe picked her. And you don't think they were working on a script to try to get him indicted? You don't think they worked on a script to try to get that bimbo that he supposedly was with? And I'm not making excuses for Trump by any means, but there's something about this president, this former president, right? When he gets everybody paid, right? And mind you, people are getting sick and tired of voting Democrat anyway. But it's kind of funny that when Joe gets in office, all hell breaks loose due to this economy. But when Donald Trump is in office, hell breaks loose, but everybody gets paid. Because people are allowed to approach. People are allowed, celebrities, not normal people. Celebrities are allowed to approach this man and tell this man what this economy needs. Does he listen half the time? Not really. But he gets it, and he gets everybody paid. And he gives everybody jobs. That is the only thing he's hitting for. That is the only thing that he's hitting for. I wouldn't want him for nothing else. But you give me a job that gets me paid for, I don't know, $28, $29 an hour, and I'm good. I'm good. I'm just earn it as I go. I'm earning it as I go. Pay as you wait. But her, this is a rookie. This is a rookie with very little to no experience at all, but prosecuting people to the highest clip, which is going to be very freaking scary. Is that Miss Chicago? Blessings to Miss Chicago. Blessings to you. This is going to be very, very scary, y'all, but I just want to know what y'all think. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Like, share, subscribe to the channel. Go ahead and hit that like button. I just want to know what y'all think. You think she's going to take it? And I'm telling you, if she takes it, it's going to be a lot of passports being bought. A lot of passports. People going to travel to Brazil. I was like, I'm living in Brazil. I'm going to Africa. I'm going to Africa to live. It's like, F this presidency. I'm not going to be under her for under 4 years. That's red pill and the manosphere. They're going to start tripping. It's like they going to give up their shit. Oh, the angry mans and the antis of the world, they're going to give up their shit. Just watch. If she ends up getting in the presidency, just watch. Just watch.
And she's been trying to get by on vibes. In my opinion, that is a horrific strategy to use when you are going up against someone who is extremely experienced.
Yeah, no shit. You're going to get doomed either way. Because both have a track record of sending black folks to, well, one has a track record of sending innocent black people to jail, prison, whatever. And the other one has a track record of being the biggest racist, prejudiced person on the face of this planet. Both ain't good. I'll put all my money on Cory Booker, but he ain't running. So I'm screwed either way.
And you are denying yourself any and all experience whatsoever. Here's the issue. The issue is that Donald Trump can say things. Donald Trump can make a gaffe or whatever. He shows up in front of the media. He's been in front of the media so often now that you're desensitized to it. So if he says something that you don't agree with or whatever, you've already heard him say it a dozen times before he got to the debate. So emotionally, you're over it. For her, it'll be her first time doing it. Whatever she says, if she makes a slip up, if she makes a mistake, if she looks bad, this will be her first time. Everything's going to be about that. That's the difference. If she had been doing interviews before now, she would have had an opportunity to get her legs under her.
Oh yeah. We all know that she's basically not gonna do anything specifically just for black people. No, we all know about that. We all know that she's married to her. That when has she ever claimed her Africanity? Never. So we're not shocked. We're not surprised.
That is, of course, if you believe she can actually do that. Therein lies the problem. So you actually cannot overstate this debate in reality. And based on my analysis, it is Trump's debate to lose.
Yep.
I am not a Trump supporter in that manner. I have no dog in the fight to that degree. But simply taking a look at the mathematics of it, you cannot fight better than you've practiced. Kamala Harris has done no practicing. I'm talking about real world live fire. She's done no practicing. She's been talking to folks behind the scenes, and it reminds you of Ronda Rousey. Kamala Harris it is not lost on Kamala Harris that a little over a month ago, she was the most unpopular politician in America. That means that nobody wanted her. She is excruciatingly aware of this. Have they been coaching Kamala Harris to win a debate? No,
Yes.
they haven't. They've been coaching her not to lose. So what they've been coaching her to do is to be very, very careful. They understand that once she gets there in front of the man, it's going to be a different ball game. So they've been coaching her not to win, but they've been coaching her to not lose. I bring up Ronda Rousey from the UFC because you'll all remember Ronda Rousey when she got knocked out the first time. Everybody and their mama saw what it was and knew what it was. Everybody and their mama saw it. She got flattened. And when she did try to come back, you could see what was happening.
That sounds so familiar. It sounds very familiar. When Obama debated Bobby Rush whooped his ass. And then he comes back the next year and becomes a senator or something. I don't know. But pretty much he became the president of the United States. Somewhat similar to here. About 4 years ago, Kamala could not ask the question. And the question was, what is a woman? Now, if you can't ask the question, what is a woman, and you are a female, that is a problem. And she got smashed a dozen more times. Where's he gonna find a clip of that? I don't know why you got me interested in this shit. I just want to play Fortnite, but now you got me interested. I blame all of you. Got me interested in these politics. I'm not even a politician. Let me see. Kamala Harris. Kamala Harris versus let's go put Kamala Harris versus. Let me see if there were. Let me see. Who are the? There are women that she has debated throughout the years. Let me see. Oh, all of this is pretty much. Oh, this is 3 years ago. Let's see. Let's see. Who is she? Nope. She's debating Pence. Pence beat her ass. I'm not talking about her. I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about a particular person that she debated years ago. I think it's this one. Hold on. Nope. Now, what's this all about? Fair use. We're just going through the motions right now. Like and share, subscribe to the channel. Like and share, subscribe to the channel. We're just going through the motions right now. Who are you voting for this election? Kamala Harris or former Vice President Donald Trump? Let's see what's going on here.
They respected me and they respected our nation. They don't respect our nation anymore. They don't respect our nation anymore. Think of it. What would the world be like if Russia didn't do what they did and they would have never done it? I used to speak to Putin about it. We displayed in Afghanistan. I think he said, wow, this is a time to go in, because I wasn't there. He would have never done it if I was president, and Israel would have never been attacked. Think of it. What would this world be like? You wouldn't have had that disaster. And it wasn't leaving Afghanistan. And they should have kept Bagram. That's a big air base. It's 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. They didn't keep it. You know who occupies it now, Tulsi? China occupies it. So we have, if you have the right president, and we don't right now, do we even have a president? He just came in. Think of it. He just came in from wherever the hell he went. You know, there was a coup. He just doesn't know it yet. But there was a coup. How about that? He got 14. I'm not a fan of his. He was the worst president. But think of this. He got 14 million votes. She was the first one to leave, you know. Kamala was the first one to quit. She never made it to the first state in the primaries, which was Iowa. Never even came close. Other people did, but she never even came close. And all of a sudden, she was picked, and she's now running for president. And look, it just started, really. It just really started. The polls have us up here. We're up in this. We're up in states, but it's close. It's close. It's close, and you know they cheat like hell, so we don't want to have it too close. But we have because we have to win this. We're not going to have a country. But with him, I was so far up. We had a thing called. How did he do in the debate? Did you think he did well? Not too good. No, they wanted to have a debate. I said, okay, it's a little bit early, isn't it? I was trying to talk them out. They said, well, it's a little early for a debate, right? They said, well, we'd like to do it. And that was not a good debate for them. That was not a good debate. So that was the beginning of the end for him. And they started looking. But they picked a woman that had absolutely no votes. She got no votes. And now she's running. So when you say threat to democracy, they are a threat to democracy. I'm not a threat to democracy. I'm not a threat. Thank you.
Mr. President, crime and the rise of crime is on the minds of a lot of people. I want to call on Danielle here, who has a question for you.
Hi, Danielle.
I think he's just answering questions right now. After that,
yeah, it's
tiring debate.
Questions from Minnesota, but you get a lot of those questions because Minnesota. I mean, they picked this guy.
Oh, don't say Jesse.
He is weird. What? I'm not weird.
You're attacking Jesse Ventura?
No, he's a weird guy. He's a weird dude. You know, see, they come up with sound bites. They always have sound bites. And one of the things is that JD and I are weird. That guy's so straight. JD is he's doing a great job. Smart. Top student. Great guy. And he's not weird, and I'm not weird. I mean, we're a lot of things. We're not weird, I will tell you. But that guy is weird, don't you think? You know, he signed for, and this is, who would think that this is even happening in our country with men playing in women's sports and all of this? But he has it at a level that nobody can believe. A bill that every boy's bathroom will have tampons. Okay. Hence his name, Tampon Tim. But think of it. Think of it. And you know, on the question of abortion, he is the one. Abortion in the 9th month. And if the baby in Minnesota, and I'd love to win Minnesota because those people aren't digging this guy. They're not digging this guy. But think of this. 6 states, Minnesota's one of them. If the baby is born, you're allowed to execute the baby think of that, after birth in Minnesota, you're allowed to execute. And you remember the former governor, not the current governor, who's terrific, Len Youngkin. We're going to win maybe Virginia. We could do that. But the former governor, and he said, you sit the mother down and the father down, you sit them down and you talk. And the baby is born and you make a decision what to do. He meant, do you execute the baby after birth? And according to what they have passed and legislation, in Minnesota, they're allowed to execute the baby after birth. And this guy is a participant. And that's why she picked him, because she is, in fact, a Marxist/communist. Remember, I'd say all the time, our country will never be socialist, right? We will not have a socialist. Well, I was right. We skipped socialism. We went to communism. This woman has to be stopped.
Mr. President, we have time for one final question. I don't know if we can get a mic to Bernardo. He's got an important question, given very soon we will be honoring the anniversary of September 11th and all of the lives that were lost on that tragic day and that tragic attack where we were attacked by radical Islamist terrorists. And Bernardo wanted to share his thoughts and had a question for you on this.
Mr. President, my name is Bernardo. I'm a voter here in Wisconsin, live in the wonderful La Crosse County here. And I'm also a father of 8. I have 7 here with me. And it's the anniversary of 9/11 is coming up. I'm concerned that we're more vulnerable now than ever. And we have a Democrat nominee who doesn't even want to say the words, says we shouldn't say the words, radical Islamic terror. How are we going to protect America from a terrorist attack?
First of all, it's a great question. And, you know, we have radical Islamists pouring into our country along with everybody else right now. They're coming in at levels that nobody's ever seen before. We kept them out. We had 1 year where Border Patrol put down, it was, I believe, 2019, where they, and I don't believe this, I don't believe it's right, but I'll take it. They said 0 came in 20, that was my term, 0. Now we have thousands. I'd like to say that was true. It's probably not, because I can't imagine that, but we were very tough on that. Now they have thousands and thousands coming in, along with the prisoners and along with the crime. And remember, a lot of these countries,
talking
like
about
Venezuela,
Venezuela.
crime is way down because they've moved their criminals into our country. It's not even believable. But your question on Islamists and all of the jihad and all of the things that they talk about, they have to respect your country. They have to respect your leader. You know, I had no radical Islam crime for 4 years, and I didn't want to talk about it. I wanted to, I talked about it after, but I didn't want to talk about it during. I don't want to say like, I had absolutely, and the next day you get hit. But we had none, 4 years of it, because they respected your president, they respected your country, and they have to. We have to bring back that level of respect, and we're going to do it. We're going to do it, and we're not letting the wrong people into our country. Okay, thank you very much. Great question.
Thank you, Mr. President. I know you have run out of time here, but thank you for having this conversation with the people of Wisconsin and people across the country who are watching and concerned about these very same issues. Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, everyone, for being here.
Thank you, everybody. Vote. Vote. Thank you, everybody, very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage 4-term Congresswoman from Hawaii's second.
Well, that was fun. That was fun. And oh, by the way, that was Venezuelan. How many of y'all scared of Venezuela? Let me scratch that. How many would defend where you live if Venezuelans come fresh out of prison, came to your city, and took over your establishment? How would you feel about that? Would you tuck your tail between your legs and run? Or would you stand and defend it like you should? It's like, I'm not trying. People are, I'm not trying to die, but they can have this apartment. It's gentrification. It's called gentrification. They are willing to do any and everything to get you out of that hood. It's called gentrification. There ain't nothing else. Don't think of it as a terrorist attack, because the United States ain't dumb enough to do that. But in this instance, when it comes to those people, it's all about getting your broke asses up out of that apartment building. because it ain't because they know you can't afford anything else, and they want a rich society. I'm talking about these elitists. These elitists want a rich society. What up, Young? What it up, Young? They want a rich society. Nothing else. Nothing else. Don't think of it as nothing else. Look at the situation. Look at the what was it? The Asian hate bill, the Asian hate crime bill. Why would any black folks mention anything about? Why would black people want anything to do with Asian? Now they're saying that we hate immigrants. What would we have to do with anything with immigrants? They really want us out. They really want us up and out of here. Like, yo, this is embarrassing. This is ridiculous. But yet, people are going to vote for her simply because she's a woman and she is against abortion. Oh, whoop-de-doo. Now, I know it's a sensitive subject, but in other importances, getting out of poverty should be the number one factor in your brain. Getting out of poverty. Hell, we've been in poverty for so long, we don't know what anything else looks like. But I beg of you all to look up, what did I say? White Man's Burden. I beg of you to go look up and look at that video, look at that movie, White Man's Burden. As a matter of fact, I think I can preview it from here because I want you to look at a couple of videos. But this one, let me see. White Man's Burden. Let me see. Wait. That's not it. With John Travolta. There we go. Okay. Let's see. I can do the trailer. Hold on. I can do the trailer. I'm just going to do a small little clip. Blessing. I'm just going to do a small little preview of White Man's Burden. If you have not seen it.
Pulp Fiction comes one of the most powerful films of the year. Louis Pinnock is a hard-working man, struggling to provide for his family.
How's my baby girl?
But the cards are stacked against him.
I promise you, honey, it's gonna be better.
Barriers still exist.
Next time you have something delivered here to the house, could you send someone other than the fellow you sent by today?
But in this world, the roles are reversed.
White people are genetically inferior.
I can't keep you on anymore.
Fire me?
So when Louis is unfairly fired from his job,
Well, tell him that I just lost my job at the factory and I need to talk to him. It's important.
I don't get involved in these matters.
he decides to get even the only way he knows how.
You know who I am. Toe line on the file. Put your hands up. That's what this is about. You straighten this whole thing out. Now you want to help me.
Now I've got a gun. You got all the time in the world. Now put your head on the dam.
HBO Home Video presents John Travolta and Harry Belafonte in White Man's Burden.
Now, that movie was based on two fractures. Number one, if roles, just imagine if roles were reversed, and just imagine how it feels being on the other side, where African American, Black American, what do you want to call it? I would prefer Moors, but that's just me. Even Pan Africans. Let's just say Pan Africans got rich beyond imaginary dreams, lived the life of luxury, and some white people now to this day call us racist. I'm like, oh, you want to do the reverse racism again? Oh, okay, cool. Just imagine being in that position. And just imagine white folks being in the position that we are in right now. Poverty stricken, police brutality, stuff like that. Just imagine it. I know it's not reality. It's not reality right now. But one day, one of these times, I would like for us to set aside our petty differences and help one another organize to get us where we need to be. If we have to argue amongst each other, then that's fine. Then I guess we're gonna have to do some arguing. But I don't want any fighting. I don't want any fighting. I don't want any name calling. I don't want none of that. We're trying to get to a point. If I have to be at a place where you call me out my name, I don't want to be there. I don't want to be there because it's a joke. It's a shit show. I'm getting sick and tired of shit shows. It's time for organization. Hold on one second. I guess I have to be a husband, I guess. Gotta be the husband. That's what happens when you get married. You gotta do your wifely duties. You gotta do your husband duties.
When she walked out there into the octagon, she was not her usual cocky self. She was not her usual aggressive self. And it was very clear from the moment that they started trading blows that when she got in there against Amanda Nunes, she wasn't fighting to win. She was fighting. She was get knocked out again. She wasn't fighting to beat her opponent. She wasn't fighting to make something happen. She was fighting to prevent something from happening. And that's not the way it works. The idea that she's going to be able to land anything seriously. So they have spent all this time coaching her on how not to lose. They've just spent all this time trying to prepare her how to not lose. And that's not the way you prepare someone. And I can speak from a position of authority. I have been to many debates. You all hear me all the time and whatnot. I understand what it takes to win an argument. I understand what it takes. Kamala Harris, they claim that her coaches have been trying to train her how to get under Trump's skin. Don't you think he's ready for that? What are you going to say to him? Trump's from New York. What do you think you're going to say to him that's going to get under his skin? What are you talking about? However, what they're really telling you is, we don't think we can beat Trump. Our only strategy is to get Trump to beat himself. Which, by the way, he has a track record of snatching defeat from the jaws of victory. That could happen. But that's a hell of a debate strategy to be using, isn't it? That you don't think you can actually win. you're hoping you can make your opponent beat himself because you don't think you actually can. And what I'm saying is that doesn't work if you're going to go in there with a bunch of preloaded lines and zingers you're going to use. The reason why going in with prepared jokes and prepared zingers is an issue is because it robs you of your ability to think spontaneously and to respond spontaneously. That's the problem. Barack Obama didn't beat Hillary Clinton because he had prepared notes. He beat Hillary Clinton on his feet. Ronald Reagan didn't beat Jimmy Carter or Walter Mondale because of prepared statements. He beat them on his feet. Bill Clinton didn't beat George H.W. Bush because of prepared statements. He beat him on his feet. And Donald Trump did not beat Hillary Clinton because of prepared statements. He beat her on his feet. Kamala Harris has not given herself any experience responding to a hostile situation. And I'm talking about from an emotional standpoint. We all see that she gets very easily flustered, very easily stymied because biracial.
She wasn't flustered tonight. She was not flustered tonight. She was all smiles and cries. She was more smiles than she was cries. Trump was pretty much trying to throw haymakers and dealt one particular blow, and that was the economy. Everything else, I guess we took a break. This small break. You know, I got to do the husband thing. So, yeah.
Sure. Either you pay up or we're not going to protect you anymore. So that's maybe one of the reasons they don't like me as much as they like weak people. But
damn,
you take a look at what's happening. We're in for 250 to 275 billion. They're into 100 to 150. They should be forced to equalize. With that being said, I want to get the war settled. I know Zelensky very well, and I know Putin very well. I have a good relationship, and they respect your president, okay? They respect me. They don't respect Biden. How would you respect him? Why? For what reason? He hasn't even made a phone call in 2 years to Putin, hasn't spoken to anybody. They don't even try and get it. That is a war that's dying to be settled. I will get it settled before I even become president. If I win, when I'm president-elect, and what I'll do is I'll speak to one, I'll speak to the other, I'll get them together. That war would have never happened. And in fact, when I saw Putin after I left, unfortunately left because our country has gone to hell.
This guy. Salute.
But after I left, when I saw him building up soldiers, he did it after I left. I said, oh, he must be negotiating. It must be a good, strong point of negotiation. Well, it wasn't, because Biden had no idea how to talk to him. He had no idea how to stop it. And now you have millions of people dead, and it's only getting worse, and it could lead to World War III. Don't kid yourself, David. We're playing with World War III, and we have a president that we don't even know if where is our president? We don't even know if he's a president.
And just to clarify
they threw him out of a campaign like a dog. We don't even know. Is he our president? But we have a president,
Mr. President,
that doesn't know he's alive.
Your time is up. Just to clarify in the question, do you believe it's in the U.S. best interest for Ukraine to win this war? Yes or no?
I think it's the U.S. best interest to get this war finished and just get it done.
All right.
Negotiate a deal, because we have to stop all of these human lives from being destroyed.
I want to take this to Vice President Harris. I want to get your thoughts on support for Ukraine in this moment, but also as Commander-in-Chief, if elected, how would you deal with Vladimir Putin, and would it be any different from what we're seeing from President Biden?
Well, first of all, it's important to remind the former president, you're not running against Joe Biden, you're running against me. I believe the reason that Donald Trump says that this war would be over within 24 hours is because he would just give it up. And that's not who we are as Americans. Let's understand what happened here. I actually met with Zelensky a few days before Russia invaded, tried through force to change territorial boundaries, to defy one of the most important international rules and norms, which is the importance of sovereignty and territorial integrity. And I met with President Zelensky. I shared with him American intelligence about how he could defend himself. Days later, I went to NATO's eastern flank, to Poland and Romania. And through the work that I and others did, we brought 50 countries together to support Ukraine in its righteous defense. And because of our support, because of the air defense, the ammunition, the artillery, the javelins, the Abrams tanks that we have provided, Ukraine stands as an independent and free country. If Donald Trump were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. And understand what that would mean, because Putin's agenda is not just about Ukraine. Understand why the European allies and our NATO allies are so thankful that you are no longer president, and that we understand the importance of the greatest military alliance the world has ever known, which is NATO, and what we have done to preserve the ability of Zelensky and the Ukrainians to fight for their independence. Otherwise, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv with his eyes on the rest of Europe, starting with Poland. And why don't you tell the 800,000 Polish Americans right here in Pennsylvania how quickly you would give up for the sake of favor and what you think is a friendship with what is known to be a dictator who would eat you for lunch.
Vice President Harris, thank you. We've heard from both of you on Ukraine tonight. Afghanistan came up in the last hour. I wanted her to respond to something you said earlier. And now, please, I'll give you a minute here.
Putin would be sitting in Moscow, and he wouldn't have lost 300,000 men and women, but he would have been sitting in Moscow. Quiet, please. He would have been sitting in Moscow, much happier than he is right now. But eventually, you know, he's got a thing that other people don't have. He's got nuclear weapons. They don't ever talk about that. He's got nuclear weapons. Nobody ever thinks about that. And eventually, maybe he'll use them, and maybe he hasn't been that threatening, but he does have that. Something we don't even like to talk about. Nobody likes to talk about it. But just so you understand, they sent her to negotiate peace before this war started.
I hate when this shit happens. Come on. I hate when this shit happens. Let's see. The internet bill paid.
3 days later, he went in and he started the war because everything they said was weak and stupid. They said the wrong things. That war should have never started. She was the emissary. They sent her in to negotiate with Zelensky and Putin, and she did. And war started 3 days later. And that's the kind of talent we have with her. She's worse than Biden. In my opinion, I think he's the worst president in the history of our country. She goes down as the worst vice president in the history of our country. But let me tell you something. She is a horrible negotiator. They sent her in to negotiate. As soon as they left, Putin did the invasion.
President Trump, thank you. You did bring up something. You said she went to negotiate with Vladimir Putin. Vice President Harris, have you ever met Vladimir Putin? Can you clarify tonight?
Yet again, I said at the beginning of this debate, you're going to hear a bunch of lies coming from this fella. And that is another one. When I went to meet with President Zelensky, I've now met with him over 5 times. The reality is it has been about standing as America always should, as a leader upholding international rules and norms, as a leader who shows strength, understanding that the alliances we have around the world are dependent on our ability to look out for our friends and not favor our enemies because you adore strongmen instead of caring about democracy. And that is very much what is at stake here. The President of the United States is commander-in-chief. And the American people have a right to rely on a president who understands the significance of America's role and responsibility in terms of ensuring that there is stability and ensuring we stand up for our principles and not sell them for the benefit of personal flattery.
We've talked about Ukraine and Vladimir Putin. I do want to talk about Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of this debate. I want to move on to Afghanistan.
Stoltenberg said Trump did the most amazing thing I've ever seen. He got these countries, the 28 countries at the time, to pay up. He said, I've never seen. He's the head of NATO. He said, I've never seen. For years, we were paying almost all of NATO. We were being ripped off by European nations, both on trade and on NATO. I got them to pay up by saying one of the statements you made before, if you don't pay, we're not going to protect you.
President
Otherwise,
Trump.
we would have never gotten it. He said it was one of the most incredible jobs that he's ever seen done.
Thank you. I want to turn to Afghanistan. It came up in the first hour of the debate, and we witnessed a poignant moment today on Capitol Hill, honoring the soldiers who died in the chaotic withdrawal from Afghanistan. I do want to ask the Vice President, do you believe you bear any responsibility in the way that withdrawal played out?
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. 4 presidents said they would, and Joe Biden did. And as a result, America's taxpayers are not paying the $300 million a day we were paying for that endless war. And as of today, there is not one member of the United States military who is in active duty in a combat zone in any war zone around the world, the first time this century. But let's understand how we got to where we are. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal. And here's how it went down. He bypassed the Afghan government. He negotiated directly with a terrorist organization called the Taliban. The negotiation involved the Taliban getting 5,000 Taliban terrorists released. And get this. And the president at the time invited the Taliban to Camp David, a place of storied significance for us as Americans, a place where we honor the importance of American diplomacy, where we invite and receive respected world leaders. And this former president, as president, invited them to Camp David because he does not, again, appreciate the role and responsibility of the President of the United States to be commander-in-chief with a level of respect. And this gets back to the point of how he has consistently disparaged and demeaned members of our military, fallen soldiers, and the work that we must do to uphold the strength and the respect of the United States of America around the world.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump, your response to her saying that you began the negotiations with the Taliban.
So if you take a look at that period of time, the Taliban was killing our soldiers, a lot of them, with snipers. And I got involved with the Taliban because the Taliban was doing the killing. That's the fighting force within Afghanistan. They don't bother doing that because, they deal with the wrong people all the time. But I got involved. And Abdul is the head of the Taliban. He is still the head of the Taliban. And I told Abdul, don't do it anymore. You do it anymore, you're going to have problems. And he said, why do you send me a picture of my house? I said, you're going to have to figure that out, Abdul.
He did say that. I had to admit, he did do that.
And for 18 months, we had nobody killed. We did have an agreement negotiated by Mike Pompeo. It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good, we were getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
I want to move on.
And these people did.
That was gangster. That was gangster. Like, bitch, we'll get you, I'm not a gangster, so I can, but that was fucking gangster, though.
The worst withdrawal, and in my opinion, the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. And by the way, that's why Russia attacked Ukraine, because they saw how incompetent she and her boss are.
President Trump, thank you. I want to move on now to race and politics in this country. Mr. President, you recently said of Vice President Harris, quote, I didn't know she was black until a number of years ago when she happened to turn black and now she wants to be known as Black. I want to ask a bigger picture question here tonight. Why do you believe it's appropriate to weigh in on the racial identity of your opponent?
I don't, and I don't care. I don't care what she is. I don't care. You make a big deal out of something. I couldn't care less. Whatever she wants to be is okay with me.
But those were your words. So I'm
I
asking.
don't know. I don't know. I mean, all I can say is I read.
That is a damn lie. That is a freaking lie. I can't even scream because my kids are asleep.
Where she was not Black, that she put out, and I'll say that. And then I read that she was Black, and that's okay. Either one was okay with me. That's up to her. That's up to her.
Vice President Harris, your thoughts on this?
I think it's, I mean, honestly, I think it's a tragedy that we have someone who wants to be president who has consistently, over the course of his career, attempted to use race to divide the American people. You know, I do believe that the vast majority of us know that we have so much more in common than what separates us, and we don't want this kind of approach that is just constantly trying to
bullshit
to divide us, and especially by race. And let's remember how Donald Trump started. He was he owned buildings, and he was investigated because he refused to rent property to Black families. Let's remember, this is the same individual who took out a full-page ad in the New York Times
and was partnering with some Mexicans,
calling for the execution of 5 young Black and Latino boys who were innocent, the Central Park 5. Took out a full-page ad calling for their execution. This is the same individual who spread birther lies about the first Black president of the United States. And I think the American people want better than that, want better than this, want someone who understands, as I do, I travel our country.
People want better than you.
We see in each other a friend. We see in each other a neighbor. We don't want a leader who is constantly trying to have Americans point their fingers at each other. I meet with people all the time who tell me, can we please just have discourse about how we're going to invest in the aspirations and the ambitions and the dreams of the American people? Knowing that regardless of people's color or the language their grandmother speaks, we all have the same dreams and aspirations and want a president who invests in those, not in hate and division.
Vice President Harris, thank you. Lindsay?
President Trump, this is now your 3rd time.
This is the most divisive presidency in the history of our country. There's never been anything like it. They're destroying our country, and they come up with things like what she just said, going back many, many years, when a lot of people...
They who? He always starts a sentence with they. They who? Who are you talking about?
Including Mayor Bloomberg agreed with me on the Central Park 5. They admitted, they said, they pled guilty. And I said, well, if they pled guilty, they badly hurt a person, killed a person ultimately. And if they pled guilty, then they pled, we're not guilty. But this is a person that has to stretch back years, 40, 50 years ago, because there's nothing now. I built one of the greatest economies in the history of the world, and I'm going to build it again. It's going to be bigger, better, and stronger. But they're destroying our economy. They have no idea what a good economy is. Their oil policies, every single policy. And remember this, she is Biden. You know, she's trying to get away from Biden. I don't know the gentleman, she says. She is Biden. The worst inflation we've ever had, a horrible economy because inflation has made it so bad, and she can't get away with that.
Thank you. Your time is up.
I want to respond to that, though. I want to just respond briefly. Clearly, I am not Joe Biden, and I am certainly not Donald Trump. And what I do offer is a new generation of leadership for our country, one who believes in what is possible, one who brings a sense of optimism about what we can do instead
The new world order.
of always disparaging the American people. I believe in what we can do to strengthen our small businesses, which is why I have a plan. Let's talk about our plans and let's compare the plans. I have a plan to give startup businesses $50,000 tax deduction, to pursue their ambitions, their innovation, their ideas, their hard work. I have a plan, $6,000 for young families for the first year of your child's life to help you in that most critical stage of your child's development. I have a plan that is about allowing people to be able to pursue what has been fleeting in terms of the American dream by offering a help with down payment of $25,000 down payment assistance for first-time home buyers. That's the kind of conversation, I believe, David, that people really want tonight, as opposed to a conversation that is constantly about belittling and name calling. Let's turn the page.
Vice President Harris,
forward.
thank you. Let's turn to policy. Let's turn back to policy.
We have to move on. President Trump.
Let's turn to policy, please.
To fund police. She has a plan to.
President Trump,
she has
you
a
have
plan
to move
to
on to
not
other
allow
issues.
fracking in Pennsylvania or anywhere else.
Okay,
that's
you,
what her
President.
plan is until just recently.
Now, you know it gets good when he just doesn't want, or he just keeps gaslighting. When he keeps gaslighting, he's like, well, wait a minute. And they're just trying to move on, but he just won't let them move on. It's just like he has to find something, but he's going to get the vote. He's going to get the vote because he's going to get people paid.
I just need
Lindsay,
to
go ahead.
respond because the former
Trump,
president has said
no,
something twice that I need to
No,
respond to.
I'm sorry. We're going to move on, Vice President.
Obamacare, but the Democrats came up, they wouldn't vote for it. I had a choice to make when I was president. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, never going to be great, or do I let it rot? And I felt I had an obligation, even politically, it would have been good to just let it rot and let it go away. I decided, and I told my people, the top people, and they're very good people. I have a lot of good people in that administration. We read about the bad ones. We had some real bad ones too, and so do they. They have really bad ones. The difference is they don't get rid of them. But let me just explain. I had a choice to make. Do I save it and make it as good as it can be, or do I let it rot? And I saved it. I did the right thing. But it's still never going to be great, and it's too expensive for people. And what we will do is we're looking at different plans. If we can come up with a plan that's going to cost our people, our population, less money and be better health care than Obamacare, then I would absolutely do it. But until then, I'd run it as good as it can be run.
So just a yes or no, you still do not have a plan?
I have concepts of a plan. I'm not president right now. But if we come up with something, I would only change it if we come up with something that's better and less expensive. And there are concepts and options we have to do that. And you'll be hearing about.
Nothing about reparations. Interesting. From either one of them, I would say. But you would expect that from two people who bicker about mainly nothing.
About it in the not too distant future.
Vice President Harris, in 2017, you supported Bernie Sanders' proposal to do away with private insurance and create a government-run healthcare system. 2 years later, you proposed a plan that included a private insurance option. What is your plan today?
Yeah! Go for Trump! Trump 2024, let's go.
Well, first of all, I absolutely support, and over the last 4 years as vice president, private healthcare options. But what we need to do is maintain and grow the Affordable Care Act. But I'll get to that, Lindsay. I just need to respond to a previous point that the former president has made. I've made very clear my position on fracking. And then this business about taking everyone's guns away. Tim Walz and I are both gun owners. We're not taking anybody's guns away. So stop with the continuous lying about this stuff. As it relates to the affordable, understand, let's just look at the history to know where people stand. When Donald Trump was president, 60 times he tried to get rid of the Affordable Care Act. 60 times. I was a senator at the time when I will never forget the early morning hours when it was up for a vote in the United States Senate, and the late, great John McCain, who you have disparaged as being, you don't like him, you said at the time, because he got caught. He was an American hero. The late, great John McCain, I will never forget that night, walked onto the Senate floor and said, no, you don't. No, you don't. No, you don't get rid of the Affordable Care Act. You have no plan. And what the Affordable Care Act has done is eliminate the ability of insurance companies to deny people with pre-existing conditions. I don't have to tell the people watching tonight, you remember what that was like? Remember when an insurance company could deny if a child had asthma, if someone was a breast cancer survivor, if a grandparent had diabetes? And thankfully, as I've been vice president, and we over the last 4 years have strengthened the Affordable Care Act, we have allowed for the first time Medicare to negotiate drug prices on behalf of you, the American people. Donald Trump said he was going to allow Medicare to negotiate drug prices. He never did. We did. And now we have capped the cost of insulin at $35 a month. Since I've been vice president, we have capped the cost of prescription medication for seniors at $2,000 a year. And when I am president, we will do that for all people, understanding that the value I bring to this is that access to health care should be a right and not just a privilege of those who can afford it. And the plan has to be to strengthen the Affordable Care Act, not get rid of it,
Vice
pass his
President
prologue
Harris,
in
thank
terms
you.
of where Donald Trump stands on that.
I want to move to an issue that's important for a
She
lot
made
of
a mistake. Number one, John McCain fought Obamacare for 10 years, but it wasn't only him. It were all of the Democrats that kept it going. And you know what? We can do much better than Obamacare, much less money. But she won't improve private insurance for people, private medical insurance. That's another thing she doesn't want to get.
President
People
Trump-
are paying privately for insurance that have worked hard and made money, and they want to have private. She wants everybody to be on government insurance where you wait 6 months for an operation that you need immediately.
President Trump, thank you. We have another issue that we'd like to get to that's important for a number of Americans, in particular younger voters, and that's climate change. President Trump, with regard
I thought we wanted less government, not more government.
to the environment, you say that we have to have clean air and clean water. Vice President Harris, you call climate change an existential threat. The question to you both tonight is, what would you do to fight climate change? And Vice President Harris, we'll start with you. 1 minute for you each.
Well, the former president had said the climate change is a hoax. And what we know is that it is very real. You ask anyone who lives in a state who has experienced these extreme weather occurrences, who now is either being denied home insurance or it's being jacked up. You ask anybody who has been the victim of what that means in terms of losing their home, having nowhere to go. We know that we can actually deal with this issue. The young people of America care deeply about this issue. And I am proud that as vice president over the last 4 years, we have invested $1 trillion in a clean energy economy, while we have also increased domestic gas production to historic levels. We have created over 800,000 new manufacturing jobs while I have been vice president. We have invested in clean energy to the point that we are opening up factories around the world. Donald Trump said he was going to create manufacturing jobs. He lost manufacturing jobs. And I'm also proud to have the endorsement of the United Auto Workers and Sean Fain, who also know that part of building a clean energy economy includes investing in American-made products, American automobiles. It includes growing what we can do around American manufacturing and opening up auto plants, not closing them like happened under Donald Trump.
Vice President Harris, thank you.
It didn't happen under Donald Trump. Let me just tell you, they lost 10,000 manufacturing jobs this last month. It's going, they're all leaving. They're building big auto plants in Mexico, in many cases owned by China. They're building these massive plants, and they think they're going to sell their cars into the United States because of these people. What they have given to China is unbelievable, but we're not going to let that. We'll put tariffs on those cars so they can't come into our country, because they will kill the United Auto Workers and any auto worker, whether it's in Detroit or South Carolina or any other place. What they've done to business and manufacturing in this country is horrible. We have nothing because they refuse. You know, Biden doesn't go after people because supposedly China paid him millions of dollars. He's afraid to do it. Between him and his son, they get all this money from Ukraine. They get all this money from all of these different countries. And then you wonder, why is he so loyal to this one, that one, Ukraine, China? Why is he? Why did he get $3.5 million from the mayor of Moscow's wife? Why did she pay him $3.5 million? This is a crooked administration, and they're selling our country down the tubes.
President Trump.
Both of y'all are crooked, but I need help. Any opinions, any thoughts? Y'all come up for a few. I ain't got no dog in this fight other than the money that they're going to give us. If you ain't talking about reparations to me, then all the other junk, y'all going to tear down the United States your damn self. Ukraine wouldn't want to do it. China wouldn't want to do it. No any other country other than the United States would want to kill itself. So I have no dog in this fight. I just want my money. I just want my money. I just want my mother freaking money.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We'll be right back with closing statements from both of our candidates. An historic night, this ABC News presidential
I
debate
can't wait for
from
this
Philadelphia. Back in a moment.
Hold on a second. Let's get to it.
The ABC News presidential debate will.
But we're not going back. And I do believe that the American people know we all have so much more in common than what separates us. And we can chart a new way forward. And a vision of that includes having a plan, understanding the aspirations, the dreams, the hopes, the ambition of the American people, which is why I intend to create an opportunity economy, investing in small businesses, in new families, in what we can do around protecting seniors, what we can do that is about giving hardworking folks a break and bringing down the cost of living. I believe in what we can do together that is about sustaining America's standing in the world and ensuring that we have the respect that we so rightly deserve, including respecting our military and ensuring we have the most lethal fighting force in the world. I will be a president that will protect our fundamental rights and freedoms, including the right of a woman to make decisions about her own body and let her government tell her what to do. I'll tell you, I started my career as a prosecutor. I was a DA, I was an attorney general, a United States senator, and now vice president. I've only had one client, the people. And I'll tell you, as a prosecutor, I never asked a victim or a witness, are you a Republican or a Democrat? The only thing I ever asked them, are you okay? And that's the kind of president we need right now. Someone who cares about you and is not putting themselves first. I intend to be a president for all Americans and focus on what we can do over the next 10 and 20 years to build back up our country by investing right now in you, the American people.
Vice President Harris, thank you. President Trump?
So she just started by saying she's going to do this, she's going to do that, she's going to do all these wonderful things. Why hasn't she done it? She's been there for 3.5 years. They've had 3.5 years to fix the border. They've had 3.5 years to create jobs and all the things we talked about. Why hasn't she done it? She should leave right now, go down to that beautiful White House, go to the Capitol, get everyone together and do the things you want to do, but you haven't done it and you won't do it because you believe in things that the American people don't believe in. You believe in things like we're not going to frack. We're not going to take fossil fuel. We're not going to do things that are going to make this country strong, whether you like it or not. Germany tried that. And within 1 year, they were back to building normal energy plants. We're not ready for it. We can't sacrifice our country for the sake of bad vision. But I just ask one simple question. Why didn't she do it? We're a failing nation. We're a nation that's in serious decline. We're being laughed at all over the world. All over the world, they're laughed. I know the leaders very well. They're coming to see me. They call me. We're laughed at all over the world. They don't understand what happened to us as a nation. We're not a leader. We don't have any idea what's going on. We have wars going on in the Middle East. We have wars going on with Russia and Ukraine. We're going to end up in a third world war, and it'll be a war like no other because of nuclear weapons, the power of weaponry. I rebuilt our entire military. She gave a lot of it away to the Taliban. She gave it to Afghanistan. What these people have done to our country, and maybe toughest of all, is allowing millions of people to come into our country. Many of them are criminals, and they're destroying our country. The worst president, the worst vice president in the history of our country.
President Trump, thank you. And that is our ABC's president for National Constitution Center. I'm Lindsay Davis.
And I'm David Muir. Thank you for watching here in the U.S.
All right. So who won? So in your opinion, who won that debate? I'll give y'all a few minutes to put in your ballots, put in your votes. While you decide all that, gotta do some promotions real quick. Gotta do it because it's the United States of America. Gotta do it. Gotta promote Shish Trish's channel. Shouts out to Shish Trish. She does a tremendous job.
Get ready for the most glamorous event of the year, the U2B Streets Awards 2025. February 9, 2025 at Laven Midtown, located at 641 West 42nd Street, New York City. Join us at 12 p.m. for the pre-show red carpet extravaganza and a chance to win $500 in our fashion contest. From 2 p.m. to 4 p.m., enjoy the gold tier experience with speakeasy confessionals, press interviews, and premium cocktails. At 4 p.m., the platinum tier includes performances, a comedic host, an awards ceremony, dinner, and gift bags. From 8 p.m., the diamond tier features a VIP after party with a DJ, aerial dance, fire performances, and gift bags. 24 YouTube categories. And many nominees. Can't attend in person? Stream the entire event live on Hush and Move Media via Uscreen for just $9.99. Get your early bird tickets before September 15, 2024. Visit now. Be a sponsor. Be extraordinary. Be there. Be great.
All right. And the votes came in neither, which I've been saying for quite some time now that I have no dog in this fight when it comes to two puppy dogs that bark woof woof. One 78 years old. One 78 years old. The other one is 60-some years old. So I think we just need to start young and start fresh. And we just, because, some of these old people just need to just sit down and chill the breeze. But it's the game. It's nothing but a game. And we are allowed to play it. But we also need to realize that the majority of people who make decisions in this country are the same ones that let in a whole bunch of people who were in prison and kick people out for their agenda to make a great America, a greater society, secretly. Anybody that reads The Art of War, knowing that the war is won out of nutrition, the war is won out of reflection. and deception. We pay the cost. You got that shit right. We do pay the cost. And if we and the only thing I can ever say to you, the only thing I can state to you is we have to organize.
Hey, what
What
up?
up, man? What's going on, yo?
I'm
So what you
doing
think?
good,
What
man.
you think?
I'm not convinced by either of them, man. I'm not convinced. I feel like both is bad though, to be honest, but we'll see. I can understand Trump. I don't like Trump, but some things he did was good, but still, man, I don't think he a good choice though.
Me either. He's a liar, a racist, and of course a thief.
I remember what he did, not just said against black, but he also said he said stuff against the Muslims also. You know, basically he generalized the whole group of people though, like Muslims also he generalized though. Because of him, you know, during his presidency as well. Like in his campaign, the entire Muslim community is affected though. Because they literally what you call it. You had people going after them because, you know, you had some people who were bad people, of course, they were criminals, right? These criminals committing crime, right, overseas, and these people see it, and Trump was like, you know, instead of like saying, no, just these few people, no, he generalized the whole thing. People who were just minding their business and wanting to do what's best for the country, they literally got targeted for no reason.
That is correct. That is correct. Again, as I told you before, I have no dog in this fight. The only thing I want is my money. I want my money or I want land. Either one is good enough for me. And none of these trick bags said anything of a sort what they would do for the American people, what the policies were. Okay. So
Yeah, but also there's one thing as well I gotta say as well before I let you speak. You know, I get you and I hear you on that because technically, in a way, you know, for UK America, technically though it's a similar system, but even though we're different, we're technically tied together. You know, we're tied together. It's a similar system, but the struggle is different. Just because something is different over there, don't mean it's the same. It is definitely the same over here as well for me. Very similar. It's just that the system is structured differently. So the way the country is run is different. So of course there's a huge difference. At the same time, there's a massive similarity that some people don't know.
in your opinion, where you're
That's
from, who is more beloved than who is more beloved over there? Trump
Wait,
or Harris? Or it doesn't matter?
no, it doesn't matter. But you know, you get people though. Everyone's different though. When you ask that question, no, good question actually. I'll give you that though. Actually, when you ask that question, no, I think it's different for everyone depending who you ask. If you ask me, I'm independent, so no. If you
I mean,
ask me personally, yeah, because look, you know, if you ask me, I'll just give you what I think. Everyone else in the country is different, so you know, they will give you like a very mixed and divide, you know, a mixed answer though, or they won't give you an answer. So everyone's different. That's what I'm saying. But I get where you're coming from, though. No denying that.
okay. I mean, most people here in America, I mean, they're I mean, it's an even split, and sadly to say, it's an even split between genders because obviously the whole abortion issue comes up, and all women are in a tirade and they want better, but then men are losing jobs and losing faith in Americans, so they want to get paid again like they did under Trump the first time around. So this is an agenda for me. This is an agenda to get these trick bags to get you to going in blind. But if we were organized, it wouldn't even get to this point. I was like, okay,
Yeah,
so I hear what you're saying, but what are you going to do for us?
Yeah, that's what I'm even thinking. But you know what else though as well, right? America is also a strong international influence though. Literally, your economy, America's economy is very no, not like strong, and basically it's not doing so good. But I mean though, in terms of like influence overseas, right? Everyone else sees America economy as strong, right? In a way, overseas though, the way they see it though, compare America to everywhere else, America's better. That's what I'm saying. So basically, America's a strong international influence, and what they kind of do overseas and stuff like that, they are kind of strong in that. And if you don't do good, then everyone ain't doing so good. Look, the UK completely fallen, not just on its own accord, but also like the impact that America decline has on them too. Since 2008, right? No, UK has not recovered since the '08 crash. That stock market crash in '08, right? We haven't
Uh-huh.
recovered since. We haven't recovered since '08, and basically we've been we've been stable, but no recovery, like full decline.
I had to look that up. I had to look that. Is it a art? Is it a article that I can look it up in?
You can look it up. Yeah, of course. Yes.
Okay.
Wait, I remember. Yeah, I was just saying though, we haven't recovered since the '08 because remember in 2008, right? There was this stock market crash. I can't remember which banking, that bank
Stock
thing.
market. Stock market. I'm looking at my shit
No,
right now. The stock market is crashing.
yeah, not just stock market, bank crash as well. Sorry. Oh my goodness, man. I'm trying to get myself together and it's morning, man. So. Morning for me, so my brain ain't working properly. But I tell you what, not just stock market, the what you call it, bank. The bank crash in '08, right? That we haven't recovered from.
Ouch. Ouch. Well, hey, hopefully, I can't say hopefully. I mean, I'm just gonna say it. We're screwed either way. But if I had to roll the dice and play Russian roulette with myself, and hopefully the gun won't go off, I'd say Donald Trump is good for the country because I mean, look at it this way. You got a lot of people who are really getting sick and tired of voting Republic or voting Democrat anyway. So it's like go with the evil that you know best, I guess. Hopefully he gets you
Wait,
paid for the first 2 years. The first 2 years he gets you paid, and then the next I say the first 2 years, if he gets you paid within the first 2 years, save up your money. Save your freaking and in hopes
yeah,
of in hopes of you getting something out there and start organizing. Start organizing
yeah.
because the next 2 years it's gonna be some type of goddamn policy that you're not gonna even get away from. And you can't blame the next president for what he does, whatever he does. Same thing with her. She ain't
Right,
gonna be
right. I feel like it's, and also like, also I'm gonna say allegedly as well. Like one time Pakistan, the former Prime Minister of Pakistan, Imran Khan, right? What happened to him was he wanted neutrality, right? He wanted to be neutral in that Ukraine-Russia thing, though, and he wanted to like focus on his own country. But then America, like people in America, didn't like that. And when Joe Biden was there, though, he kind of, I'm going to say alleged, or maybe that can be true. You can tell me. They decided to fiddle in the election, in the Pakistani election, and basically the new guy that they put in Pakistan, right? Even though I'm not from Manchester, the new guy there, the citizens over there, they view him as an American puppet, though. Like he's like a puppet type of person. He'll do whatever America says, he should do. And Imran was trying to look out for his people. And also with Imran as well, his party protested, he protested, the people started protesting over that. And I think what you call it, Imran, they also gave Imran Khan false charges. Those charges that were given to him are false. The only reason I defend him, because I got family who are connected in his party and stuff. The party he ran in, the former prime minister party that ran the country, right? That time, I got family who's connected to that, so that's why I'm connected to that.
I see that. I see. So who's the prime minister now?
I can't remember that guy's name, but you're gonna probably have to Google that. I can't remember the other guy's name, but I know the former prime minister name. Because, sometimes I just check in, but I don't normally check in most of the time. I just know, that's just how it is.
Do you think? Well, because I don't know the situation. Is he good or is he what's the proper word to say? Is he good or is he bad for that particular country that you're in?
No, not my country, though. No, not that country that I'm in, but the country that I've got heritage in it. My heritage country, if you refer to that.
Right,
So
right, right.
basically, I'm Pakistani descent, and my heritage is there. So when I mean by Pakistan over there, I feel like that guy over there, he's not good because he's not looking out for the best. He's not looking out for his people. He's looking out for the best interest of what America and the UK tells him to do. So what Western countries tell him he should do, he will do, and not what's best for his people, though. So if they have a war, he has to fight in that. He has to make his country, Pakistan, to fight in that war, or whatever resources they need, he'll give it to him when the people over there who are not doing so good. And the moment, after the election in Pakistan, what happened to him? No, the moment that new guy came in, instantly the entire economy collapsed. It straight went down like that.
What do you think of Philando Castile?
Orlando Castillo. You can tell me a bit about him, and then I'll pretty much give you my thoughts.
Okay, Philando Castile. Basically, it was a one point in time that he was for America, but America wanted to put him in that trick bag situation. In other words, trick bag meaning do as I say and not as I do. He basically said, F you, and I'm going to basically rule my country with an iron fist. He died at 90. And he met Malcolm X and Martin Luther King both.
Okay. Wow.
But they said that he said he was a bad dictator because he killed his own Cuban people. Did you know that there were both fractions of white and black Cubans?
Oh wow. Wait, but that one, yeah, I kind of get it on that when you explain it. I also remember Saddam Hussein though as well. I remember, whether you like Saddam Hussein or not, and yes, he was a dictator. Yes, he did stuff to his own people, but at least he helped keep them stable for a period of time in Iraq and stuff like that. For Saddam, because after when Saddam was, assassinated, right? What happened to Iraq? Full war zone, though. The new people couldn't be able to live up to what he was able to live up to. And, like full countries divided and, stuff like that in Iraq and stuff. The moment that.
Exactly. My point.
Yeah. I feel like that was a mistake on their end, taking out Saddam in the first place. I understand, he wasn't a good person, and I would never excuse what he did. However, what he was doing for the country, though, that was different, man. That was on a different thing, man. Even though it was it's I'm not gonna justify the bad things he did, but the good things he did for that country, that'll give him his props. And even some people today, they view him a little different than he did back then.
Now I'm starting to, you know what? That might be un-American of me. I'm starting to question how all these people not good for the country or are not good at all, but yet they always support their people. Always. But it's like I don't know, I don't even know how to say it correctly. It's like they call them dictators for a reason. But when I
But
look at
technically, the way they run it, though, yeah, the
thank
way
you,
they
yeah,
run their
exactly.
system,
Right.
the system is dictator, but the way they are, yeah, that's what I mean. I know what you're saying, though. You're correct, though. I'm saying, though, in a way, it's still no, excuse for what they did, all the bad things they did
Well, of
against
course
their
not. No.
people. No, I agree, but I'm saying, that retrospective, though, what we're given and stuff like that, I can understand, some of them people, what we viewed as bad. I'm actually starting to wonder that as well, man. Literally, when you said it, I was thinking it.
I mean, you gotta learn. You gotta learn the good. You gotta take the good and the bad with damn near everyone, except for Hitler. Hitler was a mad dictator, but
Mm-hmm.
but
Yep.
I encourage everyone to read upon their enemies, just like you read upon your politicians, just like you read about your presidents, former presidents, and beyond. You have to read about your dictators too.
Yeah, but I also feel like this is what what they say as well. Sometimes your enemy is not just the enemy on the outside, your enemies in the inside at home. So also, I feel like, in both countries, I feel like there's an enemy inside both countries, to be honest, though. UK and America. So basically, like, of course, they have like a lot of external enemies, but what about the internal that people don't know?
You know what? I ought to kick you off my live for making sense. But I had to boot you off anyway because I got to get up in the morning. But this was nice. I just thought I was gonna do this. I was gonna do this tomorrow evening, but I have some very tight things I got to do, and it's sort of like family business. But I will be on Sunday. But I do appreciate you coming up on here. I only
Okay,
got
you're
an hour
welcome.
left. I only got about an hour left. I want to play Fortnite before I go to bed. I got to get the clothes ready. You know how a father does. You know how a father do.
Mm-hmm. Okay, cool. I got you though. You can go though. I got you. I'll hop down for you. All right. Thanks for having me up though.
Oh, no problem. No problem. All right, young. Take it
Okay.
easy.
All right.
All right. I gotta go for real. But this includes the We-On-Loc Nation channel. If you have not, please like, share, subscribe, become a member of the We-On-Loc Nation channel. This was actually fun, kind of goofy, boring, and quite frankly, gaslighting, but this was a very good debate by both candidates. A very good debate. All right, stay safe. Peace.